Hello and welcome to the start of my unit plan. There's a couple things that I'm still working on, but here is my rough draft for my unit. It is for high school, and we are going to explore the big idea of perception. And the stuff that I'm going to run through and show you the order of events, from introducing to creating till the end assessment, will take 4 weeks. And also, the way I run and the order I run the unit in guarantees that I'll hit the national standards of creating, connecting, responding, and presenting, and you'll see the priority ones that I chose to assess at the end of this. So here's my unit summary, the outline. The big idea is perception. It's recommended high school level and introductory high school art course, but not limited to that, of course. This is built off of some prior knowledge already in previous units. This is not the first unit of the year or of a semester. So we begin with VTS, Visual Thinking Strategies. Ask the following questions. What's going on in this image? What do you see that makes you say that? And what more can you find? The VTS question that I came up with is, did you have to take a double take of any of these images? The individual students examines the work of art. They write what they think is going on in the image. They write what they see that makes them say so. Then we group share, and then lastly we classroom share. Here are my VTS images. Okay, then we explore the big idea of perception. This establishes the theme for the unit and provides the springboard for creative thinking. Students will discover how those previous artists can and did achieve being able to be deceitful in a two-dimensional space through their imagery we looked at, their metaphors and symbolism. The individual students reflect on how they define perception, writing this in their sketchbooks. They group share, we classroom share, and then I will give a definition that I find online, which is, for perception, the act or faculty of perceiving or apprehending by means of the senses or of the mind, cognition and understanding. I like that idea of having to think a little bit longer about what's going on in that image. So, our students' understandings. For this perception unit, students are going to explore how our individual perception may be different from others through the creation of works of art. Students are going to continue to explore the use of visual imagery to communicate, and then they will start to investigate what is seen versus what is meant to be seen. So I'll remind them a lot that we are trying to be deceitful and try to fool the viewer. I like throwing this image up for students, thinking deeply. What do they want to do? Why do they want to do it? How do they want to do it? Do they need anything else from me? Here are my essential questions. This is what's going to implore their deeper thinking about this big idea of perception. Is beauty in the eye of the beholder? Are things always what they seem? How can an artist affect someone's interpretations through their artwork? And then, does the manner in which artwork is presented affect how it is perceived? Individual students are going to reflect on these essential questions, writing this in their sketchbook through different forms of mind mapping. They're going to group share, and then we'll share out to the class and start creating this working concept list. Working concept lists get really large sometimes. I don't hold back from any ideas that students have, so we create this working concept list, an exploration of the big idea and essential questions. It's going to help students develop their own concept for their final independent project for this perception unit. Again, the students are going to know the definition of perception. Students should now be able to define perception and what it means to them, so their own definition, their own interpretation of it. And then I'm going to define observational drawings, still life drawings, words and images, creating layers and depths, and creating illusions. Here are different forms of mind mapping, whether they're sketching in their sketchbook, making a concept list, or using any of the mind mapping tools online, the free ones. We have a classroom set of iPads. So mind mapping, this is where I have the students divide their pages in their sketchbook or their art journal, and they kind of create a working storyboard, and they're going to explore the big idea of perception. An introduction to old and new media is going to fit in here, and then of course there are visual references that we used in the visual thinking strategies. So they can jot notes like the big idea, the essential questions, the classroom concept list, maybe an opposites list. Compositional ideas can be started here. They're visual references, so I'm printing things. They're pulling things out of magazines. Maybe I'm printing the artists that we VTS'd. And then a media list will be introduced in future workshops. After we mind map and create a working concept list, it gets really big. There's a lot of ideas. So I've created this Foursquare activity to have the students do, and this is going to narrow down their personal idea from the class concept list. The student is going to individually divide a page in their sketchbook into 4 parts. They will write in each part what, why, how, and need. Through this process, which I think is a design thinking process, students work out what they want to do. They're able to narrow it down, how they want to do this, how do they want to go about it, and that helps me on introducing different types of media, maybe other artists, and different techniques, basically from the elements and principles. This will help me get to know my students and their ideas also. There's an idea of what a Foursquare activity could look like. Documentation is 8th on my unit list. This is an ongoing thing. Students need to photograph their daily learning and are creating, and now since I'm working with iMovie, students are able to record maybe a problem that they ran into that day and talk over with their voice, and able to record their voice and their ideas and how they struggled and made it through that problem. The teacher, like me, will need to establish a routine of photographing or recording every day. Right before cleanup, I do this, and this is a really good time for reflection and for those students who might not have done anything that day. And it reinforces that this is for their presentation at the end during their assessment. This is what I assess, is their documentation. All right, here are the workshops I'm going to go through. For unit on perception. I will describe these. They're little individual segments, they're little individual workshops, and there's some prior knowledge here and some new knowledge. So observational drawings, students are going to use their sketchbook, explore the principles of art such as proportion, scale, value, space through observational drawings like still lifes, landscapes. We're going to work with 2D shapes versus 3D forms, and explore new media such as Conte, charcoal, pastels, and they should be as realistic renderings as possible. Then I'm going to introduce symbolic still life drawings. They can create original still life of their own and photograph it, create it at home, find objects in the room, and then they're able to come up with the meaning of it, and they're also able to work with their media that they want to. They can work and reflect and refresh their memory on lines, colors, and textures, and then of course from the observational drawing, keep practicing with those forms. Then words and images, again, always visual images, words. You need to have words on this final independent project to convey the meaning and the idea. So maybe we'll go through different puns, and high school students, they have a lot. So we'll talk about the meaning, and maybe we can, visually represent the meaning of these puns, like fruit flies like a banana. Then lastly, I'm going to introduce creating layers. So different types of watercolor washes, pastel to create transparent layers. printmaking skills, being able to layer these, and again, coming up with space and different types of forms and layering will be introduced there. Then, of course, documentation. They're going to document their process, their play, planning through their workshops. This means taking photos or video recording. Then we may revisit VTS. To do this, it's going to reinforce the connections to the big idea. I'm able to show them those artists again. Okay, lastly, independent projects. Students are going to create a work of art with meaning that answers the unit question, are things always what they seem? Is there more than meets the eye? So a couple more essential questions there. Demonstrating their understanding of the artistic process, including investigating and executing artistic problems and ideas. So they get to choose the media. We'll go through gallery walks and critiques, take breaks. They get a couple weeks to work on this independent project. So my assessment, I am going to do a one-page portfolio, but this is done digitally, and I would like to explore that idea of recording, having this kind of interactive, cool digital portfolio where they're showing their daily problems and progress and process and talking over it. So this is going to include that documentation and an artist statement. And then, of course, a self-scoring guide, a rubric that we will follow. Here's an idea of a one-page portfolio. Once they have established this portfolio, it could be maybe a stop-motion video. Here's an example. Again, this can be interactive video, stop-motion, and iMovie. Things can move. Okay, so here's my assessment that I'm going to assess. And I'm running out of time, so here are my standards that I came up with. I'm still working on my rubric, self-scoring guide that the students can use and answer, and then resources I will have also. I hope this works for you guys. When it's all done, I will get that up and finished for you.